Hey all, Jason Levon, priest at St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and welcome to another edition of Pause and Pray. Mother Teresa once said that the greatest poverty is loneliness and the feeling of being unloved. Maybe it was her recognition of the poverty of loneliness that led Mother Teresa to dedicate her entire life to serving the loneliest of the lonely, the poorest of the poor, on the streets of Calcutta, India. Maybe it's why she opened up homes for the dying there, because she felt that nobody deserved to die alone and without love by her side. I also wonder in part if some of her dedication to that work was fueled by her own experience of loneliness, as we've come to learn about her life, that at times she experienced God's absence much more than God's presence. And maybe, I just wonder if it was that sense of loneliness that also fueled Mother Teresa's compassion, which comes from the Latin compassio, to suffer with, to want to enter into the loneliness of others, all so that loneliness could be shared, and in that sharing, love could be ignited and have the last word. However it happened, the Church lifts up heroes like Mother Teresa because of the instruments they were, of love, of God's willingness to collapse into the loneliest places of life. In the gospel given to us in today's daily office, we see Jesus enfleshing that love of God, willing to collapse into the loneliest places of life as well. The gospel today comes from chapter 26 of Matthew. It tells the story of Jesus' betrayal by Judas with a kiss. And after Jesus is betrayed, and as he's about to be led off and arrested, the text for today's gospel ends by telling us that all of the disciples fled and deserted him. In other words, they left Jesus to collapse into the loneliest place of his life, the loneliness of the cross, and ultimately the loneliness of death that would await him on the cross. And yet we as people of faith know that it was only in Jesus' willingness to collapse into the loneliest place of life that Easter would be able to happen, that love would find a way into that loneliness and ignite a flame of life that would have the last word, so that loneliness and death would not need to have the last word. This isn't the most uplifting message today as we're reflecting on our loneliness, but there is a sacred invitation to pause and pray and reflect on the times in our own lives where we found ourselves collapsing into loneliness. And we all experience that in some way, shape, or form throughout our lives. But also to pause and pray about how we've come to experience love collapsing into that loneliness with us. Maybe that was embodied in a good therapist or physician who listened to things we weren't able to tell anybody else, or maybe a trusted friend, or maybe even a pet that simply held the space with love and helped us carry a bit of that loneliness. Or maybe it's to pause and pray about that own invitation that wells up in our own lives to want to be Mother Teresa's for others, to want to reach out maybe and call an aging parent or relative and check in on them, or send a card to somebody we haven't spoken to for a while, or maybe just to be kinder in general in life, because we never really know the loneliness that another might be carrying when we're interacting with them. And in the end, we come to learn through all of that the only thing that's able to help eradicate the poverty of loneliness is love's willingness to collapse into it, and there ignite a flame of love that's able to help us find our way out of loneliness and all of its darkness. Thanks be to God today for that willingness to look for and collapse into the loneliest places of life, all so that flame of love and life can be ignited and we can find our way back to life again. God's peace and blessings to you all.